Hi everyone. I know this might come as a surprise because I haven't sat down and made a video like this in years. Like honestly, I can't even remember the last time I did. So if you know me, I'm not someone who usually sit down a lot to discuss about politics. I've shared the odd news story or Instagram before, but I have never really um, put a video on about on my views. So I'm not a celebrity. I'm not an influencer. I don't have a huge follower list. I don't have a huge friend list. I'm just an ordinary person. So why am I making this video? Because I felt I couldn't stay silent anymore. After I shared one post in my Instagram yesterday, which was just my thoughts about what's happening in Jharkhand. Um, I've got a lot of comments from my friends. So one person said, "We're only seeing one side, the other agendas behind these, protests." Another person said, when there were issues with Kerala Red List, hardly anyone spoke up. So, but now the celebrities are all speaking about this and are making posts about this. And also, a comment was made that these students are stupid. Why would they leave the family to come here to get beaten up? So I didn't argue with any of them, except for one person, I should say. So I didn't want to be honest, not because I agreed with them, but because I don't think they, every disagreement has to become an argument. Mm, Like I said, everyone has a right to their opinion, and I respect that. But I also felt it was important that people understood my view on this. Not because I want to convince anyone. I don't think I can. I can't change anyone or convince anyone. Not because I want people to understand where I'm coming from, and maybe they're right about one thing, maybe they're not. Maybe there are organizations with political interest, maybe there are people with other agendas. I honestly don't know. I can't comment on that. I honestly don't know. So, but I keep asking myself, does that really change the bigger picture? Like, does it make the courage of those young people any really less? Like, any less? Like, do we really believe that every single student standing there has an agenda? Or they belongs to a political party? Or is it possible that many of them are simply students, young people, who wants their voice to be heard? Who genuinely believe something is wrong and want to be heard, as I said. And even if there are people with the different agendas, does that automatically mean every student should be heard like they are getting ignored now? Does every voice suddenly become meaningless? For me, the answer is no, definitely no. The there was this Kerala about Kerala, nobody spoke, then why now kind of thing. Maybe that's true. Maybe more people should have spoken then. Maybe we should have, we all should have spoken. But if we stayed silent during one injustice, does that really mean that we should stay silent for every injustice that comes after this? I don't think so. Past silence should never become an excuse for the future silence. Maybe these people is deciding they don't want to remain silent anymore. Then encourage them. Maybe that is this is the beginning people in believing that their voices matter, their voices really do matter, and it isn't that how change has always started. No, because everyone agreed, but because someone decided they could stay quiet any longer. What worried me even more was something else, like how quickly we have started calling people stupid. Think about that. These are young people, somebody's son, daughter, brother, sister, wife, whether you agree with them or not. They chose to leave the comfort of their homes, unless, like me or someone sitting and just speaking, they believed something mattered enough to stand up. They knew they could be criticized. They knew they might be detained. They knew there could be consequences. Yet they still went. not because it was easy, not because it was comfortable, because they believed remaining silent would be worse. Whether I agree with every person there or every slogan or every organization isn't actually the point. It is not. I can still acknowledge the courage it takes someone to stand up for what they believe in. The only way I could support is to support from here where I can from. And I think courage deserves respect, not such rudeness. I also want to make something very clear. I am not affiliated with any political party. I don't support violence. I don't believe in anyone should be above the law. If protesters are breaking the law, sorry, the students or the police are breaking the law, they should be held accountable. If authorities misuse their power, they should be investigated and held accountable too. It's not just us, and accountability should apply to equally to everyone. This isn't about supporting one political party. This isn't about attacking another. This is something much bigger. It's about the kind of country we want to become. I lived in India for 25 years of my life, and my family still lives there. So India is still my home. So yes, I care deeply about what happens there. You should not be judging me saying, oh, you live in different nation and so how can you comment on it? No, I still can. I'm an Indian citizen now. So I'm just living in another country. That doesn't change anything. My family still lives in India. So what scares me isn't just the protest themselves, it's how quickly we've started asking what's the agenda instead of asking why are so many young people willing to risk so much? It's how easily we have started dismissing people before we even listen to them. Maybe some people see foolishness. I see young people who believe their voices deserves to be heard. Maybe history will prove them right. Maybe it won't. I don't know, but I do know this. No healthy democracy becomes stronger when people stop asking questions. Questioning those in power isn't the opposite of loving your country. Sometimes it's one of the purest expressions of that love. I'm not asking anyone watching this to agree with me. I'm not asking you to support any particular party. I'm not asking you to take sides. I'm simply asking you to pause, to think, and listen. And before we dismiss someone because we think they have an agenda, let's remember they're human beings. They're students. They're somebody's children. They're somebody's like wife. Like I don't know, there's somebody's family, and maybe just maybe they're still asking questions that deserve to be heard. I still believe in India, and they're asking questions for us, our future, our children. I still believe that they can bring back our democracy, and I still believe that loving your country doesn't always mean staying silent. Sometimes loving your country means caring enough to ask difficult questions. Please, and don't come to me with comments on this video. I don't want any argument. I'm just putting my view out here. Thank you for listening.